everyone, and welcome to GuildGab episode 62. This is a show all about Guild Wars 2. Today we are going to be discussing a variety of topics concerning the state of the game, including the new content, guild halls, scribing, stuff like that being a little too expensive to unlock, and what we can, we think ArenaNet can do to fix that. To the Heart of Thorns content being perhaps a little too hard for the casual player, and where the state of the game is for the casual player. So we're going to be talking about a variety of topics today. But first, let me introduce my co-hosts MMO Inks and Corvus Plays.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going today, guys? How's things? How's life?
Good. Pre-show tag.
Pre-show tag. We're professional around here. That's right.
Many
Toad
thanks,
profesh.
chat.
Thank you, chat. Oh my goodness. So, there's a lot of topics today, and I don't know exactly where to start, but we touched on a lot of topics in last week's episode that we thought we could go much deeper into with the whole show. So this is the show that we're going to dedicate to those topics. We've got the state of precursor crafting. We got guild missions, which I believe have been mostly fixed.
Right.
We haven't in past weeks. I think last week we actually were able to do them all and get all the rewards, weren't we?
Yeah, we were. It's funny because we've been getting. I think everybody gets the same ones, right? So we've been getting a lot of treks lately. Trek.
Oh my gosh, the treks. Seriously.
Yeah. Which the treks aren't too bad, but they're not as fun as doing, say, the guild rush that we used to do and kind of compete with each other and make the noises and.
Right.
For me and Peachy at least, and Maven, that was always a big, fun sort of highlight for the week for us. And now you're not sure whether you're going to get those or not. And lately, we just haven't been. It's been like Trek and, maybe a guild challenge or a guild puzzle, something like that. But I kind of miss the old system a little bit. The new system isn't terrible or anything, especially since they fixed everything now. But I preferred having like a rush every week and stuff like that.
Yeah, I miss that. It is ridiculous that we have, I think, 2 or 3 weeks in a row now we've had like 3 treks. It's like, why do we need all these treks? And if it's set for everybody across like all guilds, this is what you get for the week, why wouldn't you give us one of each? Like, I agree. I miss the rush every week especially because our guild made it like more fun. Our guild, we have a race, we keep score, like the last person to cross the finish line gets to make a noise. Like, we make it super fun, and we don't have that every week anymore. And I miss it. And I don't know why we have all of these repeat, we have track.
It's a strange decision on their part.
It's
I don't
really
understand
strange. I don't understand. I don't like it. I don't like it. ArenaNet, fix it. Put it back
well,
the way it was.
And the other thing, too, and we kind of knew this going into Heart of Thorns, but really need some new guild missions.
Yeah, for sure.
At least some new challenges, a new
That too.
race, a new guild puzzle. Just to add like one new of each, or maybe even a new type of some sort would be nice as well.
Yeah.
We've been doing these things for those of us who are veteran players of the game. We've been doing these things for so long. Some new variety would really, really freshen things up, I think. And I don't know when they could add something like that, because I don't know that it really fits into like a living world kind of update.
Exactly. Well, I was expecting it with the expansion, with guild halls and the revamping of the whole guild system. I genuinely thought we would get something like that. And like you said, I don't really know where they would fit it in.
It is odd that they didn't give us, like you said, they did this whole new guild system, and they changed it a little bit, but really just introduced a bunch of bugs, which are fixed now for the most part. But they didn't introduce anything new into the guild missions. They redid the fractal system. They completely restructured it, but didn't add any new fractals. In fact, and then most people say that they messed up the rewards there, which we're still waiting for an update for. So
hopefully Tuesday. Should be Tuesday.
Hopefully Tuesday. With Winter's Day. Winter's Day is coming Tuesday as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So hopefully we get maybe we'll get a preview. I think tomorrow. I think on Guild Chat tomorrow we're supposed to get a preview of Winter's Day.
Very much looking forward to it.
The glider was not in a bundle. I was so happy.
You're lucky. You're lucky this time.
Very, very lucky.
Next time no remorse next time.
Next time the glider that you want is going to be in a bundle. But I was really happy on Tuesday. We got the glider and the wreath back piece.
Which is very
neat.
Cool.
Very
done.
cool.
Yeah.
Was not expecting that.
I wish the lights kind of blinked a little bit, but
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
Otherwise, it's nice. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. There's still so much. I feel like the game now. I honestly never really noticed like bugs and glitches and stuff before because I knew that they were going to fix them quickly. Like, ArenaNet's usually pretty good at getting on bugs and things that are wrong and fixing them quickly. But I feel like there's like so much, and I'm constantly, of course, barraged with questions. When are they going to fix this? And when are they going to fix that? I'm like, I don't work for them. I don't know. I just have to tell people, be patient. Be patient. Yeah. They'll fix it. And, they have fixed guild missions. Guild missions are pretty much working now. They're not to the state of what we want them to be. But, like, everybody's at least getting their rewards now. We haven't had any problems with that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, those first 2 weeks of not getting rewards for doing guild missions.
It was so frustrating.
Richie would say, "Is everybody ready for guild missions?"
Everyone's like,
I'm ready to not get rewarded again. Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, well. But it's fixed now, like you said.
It is.
It's working, and it's been weeks since I have not been not rewarded.
Right.
Did I say that right? Yeah. So we've been getting rewards now, so... Back to the same old thing. That's good.
Yeah.
It's so strange as well because like the launch went so smoothly, and now we're at this point where there's actually quite a lot of things wrong in every single game mode. Really, it's kind of a shame. It would have been cool for them to have kept that momentum from the launch of the expansion.
Mm-hmm. You gotta expect that though, in some regard, implementing so many new systems at once.
Oh,
I mean,
God,
at least
yes,
there's been no
sure.
problem that I've heard about with like earning your masteries, as far as like bugs are concerned, like with progressing the mastery system or they were quick to fix the elite specialization, the number of hero points. That I mean, what was it like the next day? It was 400. People were complaining, and then like the next day they said, "Oh, let's lower it to 250."
Yeah. What's really funny too is I seen a comment from somebody who didn't realize that it had been changed. So I think it took them like 2 days or something. So literally they played for a day or two and was like, you know what, just not doing this. And then they left and they didn't realize that they had changed it to 250. Yeah, don't know if it's so much a fix as just a total change in their perspective on how they want that to work.
Yeah,
right.
To be honest, I think we've talked about this before, and I certainly have talked about this with other people. I much prefer forget all the points. Throw the points out the window for the next elite specs. I know we have leftover points now, so what do you do with those? I get it, but throw the points out the window. Give us an adventure. Give us a story that unlocks the actual perfection. Maybe we
100%.
need to go. Maybe after you play the story where Braum picks up the bow, it doesn't exactly work because Braum himself is still learning. But maybe there's something where you and Braum together, if you're a dragon hunter, go to X NPC, and there's some sort of adventure you both go through, or maybe you don't even need to take Braum with you, but you go through this adventure, and at the very end of it, your reward is you unlock the track.
Yeah.
You could add a collection in there if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
But something. Put a traditional, and I know like Guild Wars 2 doesn't normally do traditional quests, but put a traditional quest in there that has a story element. It doesn't have to be like super, super long or drawn out, but a couple of story steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, whatever, that take you across the world or even maybe into the new zones itself. And at the very end of the story, you become a dragon hunter. You learn the ways of dragon hunting, whatever. And then in the Revenant's case, in Ridlock's case, this also fixes this question of where does it come from? How did he learn it, etc. It doesn't have to necessarily be Ridlock's story, but a general Revenant story to say, okay, well, we have a little bit more lore, a little bit more understanding of how you channel the spirits of the mists or whatever the case is. Right. And I mean, that would be huge for the game. That would add so much. And this way, you're not worried about going from point to point to point, or what's the most efficient skill point route in the new maps in order for me to unlock this stuff, which is basically what I did. You know, other people put up guides or whatever of these are the ones you can do without needing any friends, and you go and do those until you're done, and then it's like
terrible.
Wow.
But it's true. It's absolutely true. I the only ones I have unlocked are, of course, Dragon Hunter, and then I have Druid fully unlocked, and that's what I did for that one. I wanted to have it unlocked in case I wanted to use it in a raid, and so I just went from point to point to point, got all the easiest hero points in Verdant Brink, went to the next map, got the easy ones there, and that's all I did, and then bam, I'm a Druid. There's no explanation as to why my character became a druid. What made her a druid? She ran around in the jungle for a little bit. You know, I completely agree.
Druid.
Right. And then they could even add a story, that story quest aspect to it, as well as have the hero points. I don't see anything wrong with the hero point system as far as, like, you need to kind of, like, you need to play the new maps. You need to earn, you know, your place in the jungle. You need to earn your place among, that new content in order to unlock this new elite spec. I'm totally fine with that.
It makes sense, I think.
And you could tie that into the quest system, saying, like, if you have to have 100 hero points until that this XNPC will talk to you and teach you are not heroic enough, or whatever whatever wording they want to use. I would love a combination of both to unlock those.
Yeah, that's fair.
This needs a bit more flavor, I think.
I think it's, my concern is that, and originally it was 400 points, so I understand why it's 10 points apiece, but my concern is that in the future, are the next maps going to be 10 points apiece? Right. Are they going to be 5 points apiece, 1 point each?
The numbers are screwed because they lowered it. We all have a big excess now of extra points, and they're going to have to balance that. So they're going to need to make it, say, 200 points, but then they know we've already got like however many left over, so they're gonna have to add that on to the total just to counter it. I don't know. The problem with adding something like heavy on the story and kind of like a quest thing is that gonna take too long if you're doing it for the 5th time on an alt and you need this character for raids and you're having to run through. It's easier to just run around.
It doesn't have to be a long quest system. Just a couple steps, 2-3 steps is all you need, with a little bit of story tied to it, that if you want, you can skip the cinematic if there even is one, so that if you are unlocking it, you're just unlocking it for raids. Cinematic!
Just a quick cinematic. That'd be good.
Yeah.
And listen, and this is a really cool point. So in SWTOR, and I don't know if it's still like this, but at launch it was, if you played a Jedi, there was a quest line you went through to unlock your lightsaber for the very first time. And there was a cinematic of, like, you didn't really build it, but the lightsaber was building itself on screen, and that was freaking awesome. Now, don't get me wrong, I threw the lightsaber away in the next planet and picked up a new one, but... but... It was just a cool cutscene. Can you imagine being infused as a druid with the druidic power, or I don't know, I can't think of any good ones. Time stops, you become a time mage, or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Your very
first time, instead of your very first lightsaber, it's your very first time using one of the unique abilities of that class. If you're Dragon Hunter, the first time killing a dragon. What? No.
Yeah, or summoning Chalice for the first time, or something like that. You know what I mean? There's a cool cinematic that can happen there. Yeah. And I understand that takes a lot of time, that takes a lot of resources. It's not cheap or easy to do, but it would bring so much like life into the game itself. It would just be really cool.
Totally agree. Want it.
Well, because we were talking about this a while ago. Like, even when the Revenant was announced, we were talking about maybe when you make like a Revenant character, you're gonna have this huge like backstory and kind of explaining the new class, and the same with the elite specs as well. We thought there was gonna be something a bit more, but I don't know. It's a hard balance to make it efficient for people who just want to speed through it to go do their raid or to take it to Warby World or something like that. Right. And for the people that want that story and that flavor there, and considering the amount of people that complained about it taking too long, they're going to be reluctant to make it,
to put that extra flair in there because it'll just take longer.
Exactly.
Now,
and it's a shame, really. I disagree with them lowering the points requirement anyway. I think it actually made it feel like more unimportant, really, because you weren't having to put as much effort into it. It wasn't a goal that you were working towards as much. And I don't know, I thought that was a shame.
well, especially if you already had, if it was like your main and you already had world completion. Once they before they lowered it, you only unlocked about half of the elite spec. Afterwards, it unlocked most of it. Like you maybe had to go in the jungle and get 3 hero points. That was it. You still had to go in. You didn't fully unlock it still, but it was really, really close. So,
yeah.
So what they need to do is they need to find this balance between story and content, which is I think exactly what they did in the raids. I cannot give enough praise to the raid system because I just think it is so perfect for this game. I think that everything they've done in the raids, I mean, maybe there's a couple bugs here and there, but nothing that's like progress blocking. Like, I just think the raids are just amazing, and that's something that I never thought that I would say. Like, this is like the hardest core content in the game, and here comes along like little casual me, coming along, I want to raid. Well, raids, I am excited every night that we get to go into a raid. It makes me super excited. And there was a whole guild chat on the balance between story and content in the raids, and I think they did it. If you want to just rush through it, you can. There's if you want to talk to NPCs, it's fully voice acted. If you want to sit there and talk, your own characters talk as you progress through. Your characters talk to each other. There's all kinds of achievements you can get, like story achievements. You can find lost journal pages. You can find, grab the tags from the downed soldiers. There's so much you can do if you want to, and only if you want to. They absolutely do not force it down your throat, but they give you a perfect amount of context for why you're there and why you are defeating these monsters, where they came from, what they are, even if you don't even if you just want to go through it for the content and don't care about the story, you even still get just enough that you feel a meaning for being there. It's not just, okay, boss 1, boss 2, boss 3, we're done. So I just think that I can't give that system enough praise.
I've been putting off because I haven't completed the raids yet. So I have put off. I don't want to see. I haven't watched. Like, I know WP did a video about like the actual story. I think Aurora did a video about the actual story as well. I haven't watched those videos because I haven't finished it yet. And I know that I am in a group that's capable of finishing it. So I've been really just putting off and waiting and not wanting to learn it. Matter of fact, I really haven't, like the little pages that you pick up, which you can go back through and do when you're done the raid for the night or whatever. Or once you clear it, you can go through by yourself. Just stay in the raid and not leave. You don't have to worry about bogging your group down with you wanting to learn the lore and stuff. There's a little bit of dialogue here and there as you go along, and you just kind of have to listen for that. But a lot of the story is told through like the journal pages and the stuff that's laying around. And I haven't really read too much of that stuff just yet, just because I don't want to spoil that whole thing for myself. But yeah, I think you're right. I think there's an interesting balance in raids where if you don't care about the story, you can just skip it and rush through and not really pay attention to that stuff. And if you care about the story, then you can kind of go through later and pick up the journal pages and discuss it and read the tombstones and all that kind of stuff. And it's pretty cool.
It's important as hell to have that as well, because I mean, both of you guys have spent hours in that raid, and for not, it's not in your face. It's not a thing that like a cutscene that plays every single time you enter the instance or anything like that. Right. So it's just it's hard to balance. For content that hard, I think context is quite important to a lot of people. If they're going to be dying and trying over and over again, and yeah, they did it perfectly.
Something I miss. And I wish that they did this for the raids, and I see people talking about it. But in Tangled Depths, there is the Lost City of Radanovis. And there's a thing that you can do every day by spending 25 ley line crystals, where you can buy a book. And there's a variety of books you can buy, and there's a journal that all the books kind of go into. So once you buy the book, you can throw the book out, and you have this journal. And you can open up the journal and say, I want to learn about the char, and you can read whatever information some of the information is incorrect, by the way, but you can read about the char or whatever. I wish that there was like a raid book. And that when I collect the journal pages, I put them in my book. And then I can, when I'm not in the raid, I can read through it and say, oh, this is what happened in the raid, you know, on my own time, my own free time. That would be very cool. Or even if you beat a raid boss, like the raid boss drops a note. This was on Gorsival's foot, and I put it in the journal.
Right.
Whatever the case is.
That'd be kind of like the Flameseeker prophecies in Corvus 1, where every mission you do, you can look back at what happened in that mission kind of thing. That'd be cool as hell. That'd be a really good idea. Very
early on, Guild Wars 2 had this, and ESO has this sort of system as well. They had a lore book system where you would run around the world and, oh, here's a book card. Okay, that goes in a collection. And I can read that book whenever I want.
Yeah.
And I can collect all the books around the world. That's like another collection you can do. As well as these little ones, like, I forget what the Asura's name is, something with a Z. Zintil or Zinti or something, whatever his name is. He has a little book full of like Guild Wars 1 original lore, most of it. And raid, there could be a raid lore book that you continue to add to it as you do the raid, and you can fill it up, and that way you can read the lore whenever you want. You don't have to worry about bogging, like I said, you don't have to worry about the raid group being slowed down by you, because I can just look at it later. It's fine. I can do it on my own time. And I think a system like that would really benefit something like Guild Wars 2. One of the issues for a long time has been there's some really great story and lore. Even in Guild Wars 1, it suffered from this. There's really great story and lore there, but it's not always told in the best way. It's not conveyed to the player in a really good, coherent way. And certainly there's aspects where you can skip around it, and I do this heart, but I didn't do this heart, or I didn't get this event while I was doing the heart, so I don't quite understand this little tiny piece of insignificant lore. But it really adds to the overall story, you know?
Yeah.
And I think a book system would really kind of fill those gaps in a meaningful way.
I can understand why it's not. I mean, because it's... How would that be implemented, do you think? Like, would it be kind of like that one you were talking about in Ratanovis, which is like an item you double-click? Because if they add a bunch of books, you're going to have this... Like, your inventory is going to be full of different books. But maybe they could add a thing to the hero panel, which could be like a kind of books you've collected thing.
Yeah, hero panel,
I guess that'd be the
personal
best
story. That is the perfect, my story. That's the perfect area for that. Just add another tab. You have your quest, because now you can go back and you can pick which quest you want to do. You can pick which story chapter once you unlocked it. So just add like another tab where it's like, okay, now let's actually read about what happened. And they give you short summaries when you do go to that story tab and you click on a chapter. It kind of gives you a summary of what happened, but it doesn't give you the journal pages. It doesn't give you the tiny details. It just gives you an overview. And it's like, oh, I forgot what happened in this episode. I can go read a little summary of it.
Right.
It's like when you read like a TV guide or something.
Exactly.
It's like a paragraph.
Yeah. You go to the wiki and it summarizes what happened for you. It's just like season 1. Players who go back and they say, yeah, I've read summaries of season 1. I read, who Scarlet was, but they don't know any of the details. Those of us who lived through it when it was live, we know those details. We have that connection with those season 1 characters that those other people will never have. And if they had some kind of detailed account of it, like if there was an in-game journal that gave a very detailed, even the dialogue is all there in-game in text form. Put all that dialogue in text form. I mean, there's some fantastic dialogue between Destiny's Edge 2.0 and each other when they're getting to know each other, and Marjorie and Casimir and Bram and Rox. There was such fantastic dialogue that is forever lost unless you go dig up someone's Let's Play on YouTube. And I just think that players who want that information shouldn't have to go there. You
shouldn't leave the game to experience the game, right? Like, it should all be there. And I was really disappointed with their season 1 kind of summary thing that they added. You talk to the NPC and you see like a cutscene of what Scarlet did. It wasn't, like you said, it just lacked any kind of detail. It was, a minute long or something. And just kind of... And I felt like when I was watching it, that like, we could probably pass it as acceptable, but people who haven't played through that, it's hard to see it with like completely fresh eyes and imagine you didn't know what was happening. So I don't know. I've not spoken to anyone that hasn't played season 1 but saw that and how well it did to explain it to them. But more of a lore book type system would be perfect for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect.
And at one point or another, and I don't know where what happened to it, or I guess it just didn't work for them at the end of the day. But the basics were there. It wasn't perfect. It still needed more development time, obviously, but the basics were there. And there are books all throughout Tyria, tons of books that give little blurbs about a variety of things. Divinity's Reach has a bunch. Ebon Hawk has a whole. There's actually a hidden collection
there's a
for that.
lot in Ebon Hawk.
Achievement for that.
Yeah.
But little bits and information all over the world, and how it would just be awesome if that was part of some sort of book system or learning system. And you need a tab or something for it to make it manageable. But
not books in the inventory, please, please. This is
maybe
already
one book that just collected all the books.
Everything.
Or something.
Yeah, one
master. That would still be quite.
God.
There'd be a lot to go through if you want to find a specific book, though.
This game really is 3 games in one. It's Guild Wars, Inventory Wars, and Fashion Wars. It's those 3 games. I swear, I spent so much time every single day douching my inventory. Oh my god, so much time spent just clearing out my inventory. Bags upon bags upon bags. And yes, I love loot. I love all the loot just as the same as anyone else, but sometimes it's like, okay, I want to go on an adventure. Here I go. Where am I going to go today? I'm going to go into the jungle. And you open up, okay, I'm going to put on a booster. You open up your inventory and you're like, oh Jesus. I literally have started a day. I've started a stream. I'm like, okay, guys, let's go. And I opened up my inventory and there was 1 free slot. And I have maximum bags unlocked, maximum, all 20 slot bags. And I just go, oh, I think I actually made a highlight of it. It was like, oh my God. I was like, Heart of Thorns threw up my inventory. Because it was just, there was so much stuff.
It's true. It's true.
Oh my goodness.
Boxes and boxes and boxes. Yeah, bags and bags. Yeah. Gosh, my poor mouse. My poor mouse.
Can we get right-click salvage all greens, right-click salvage all blues?
So we've I've talked with this before with I can't remember who from ArenaNet, but they recently added the luck thing where you can
consume all
eat all the luck. You can pack me in the luck now, which is awesome. Until you realize that you've hit cap and you're eating luck and it's doing nothing for you anymore, like me.
Oh no.
All that exotic luck, all those stacks of exotic luck. Anyway, and we've asked about I've asked about salvage all or even bags. Like if I have 10 champion bags or whatever, why can't I just open all and explode in the inventory? But the problem is what happens with the overflow of that stuff, right? You can only overflow so many. And so that there's a technical limitation currently for ArenaNet that they are looking for a way around it. They are looking for a solution, but it's been it's eluded them so far about how do you deal with the explosion, the overflow of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they're working on it, but yeah.
I think the same way that if you have a full inventory and you keep opening bags, you have that little window pop up with the extra
it
stuff.
just stops as soon as you
it says this stuff will not fit in your inventory. Do something about it before you open anymore.
The magic find cap, it is 300%, but I'd have to look at the actual number on my screen, but it's 472,110 or something like that.
Wow.
It's 472,000 something is the max luck that you can eat.
I don't think I'm halfway there.
I'm not at cap yet. Yeah, I think I'm just
at
about
140 something.
Yeah, I think I'm.
And we're gonna talk about this in a second. But what really stinks is I had probably 3 or 4 stacks of exotic luck left over, like the exotic luck things. Mm-hmm. And now the guild hall, when you get to a certain point, and I forget what it is. I think it's the last exploration at guild level 40. You need 777 exotic luck is one of the things, and I'm like, I had that. I had all that in my inventory. It was just sitting there, and I was just like, oh, this is taking up inventory space. I don't need this exotic luck. I'll just eat it and increase, because I thought it was increasing. I thought that once you hit 300 cap, at some point it just let me keep eating luck, and the number kept growing, even though I wasn't leveling up luck anymore. And I was like, oh, I'll just keep eating it. And if they ever increase the luck cap, boom, I'll have a bonus.
Right.
Well, that stopped at some point, and I didn't realize it. And I just kept eating luck and eating luck and eating luck. And now it's like I wasted 1,500, exotic lucks or something. And it's like, now I need that for the guild hall. GG.
Oh, my God. So you need that for guild hall upgrades.
Yeah.
Do you need that for scribing? Because I know scribing is just insane right now.
I'm like only level 54 scriber or something.
Somebody told me the other day that to max to 400 scribing, it costs something like 2,500 gold.
Well,
I know it's really expensive.
It's changed a little bit. So I know someone who leveled it. Braum from ATT leveled it early on. It cost him like 5,000 gold.
Oh my God.
I know people since then who have leveled it who said like you 2,500 gold. The problem, scribing is in my opinion, it's totally broken. Poorly, no offense to whoever designed it, I apologize, but it feels poorly designed and just not overly well thought out. A lot of the materials you need, for example, you need a lot of sand for scribing. A lot of sand. Well, where can you get sand from? There's only 2 places in the game to get sand. And so you're going back to silver waste and just silver wasting your brains out until you have enough sand. But you need such a monumental amount of sand that either you do that or you gold it, you just spend gold on the trading post. And it just feels terrible to level.
And because the trading post changes all the time, that's obviously why it's a bit cheaper now, but it's still so expensive. I think their idea for it was that one person in the guild would be your scribe, and everyone contributes and sends them gold and materials, and it's this cool. So I just don't understand why they don't make it kind of like a guild-wide.
That's what the guild upgrade system is, which is a good system because anybody right there, you go into the guild hall, the treasurer is right there. You look on the treasurer, you see what's needed, you see what is in your inventory. I think that is a great system because it's very easy to see what you have, what you can contribute. You can choose what you want to contribute. What does the guild need? But yeah, it's like that system is already in place. Scribing is a personal thing.
Yeah.
That should have been completely
Not only that, but if you, just talking about from a player perspective, okay, Matsta is much higher scribe than I am, so I've been sending him some materials to try and level scribing, but you get to these roadblocks in scribe where it's just like, all right, well, I just have to power my way through this, and it's absolutely terrible. It's so expensive that you need sand to make this. Well, I don't have enough sand, so let's go buy sand. Well, now I need to buy a guild decoration. Well, we got to upgrade the guild hall to get that guild decoration or whatever. And there are certain passes that you can get through that, but they're expensive. And even when you get to max level, even if after you've spent all this time, all this gold, all these resources, people on Reddit, not just ATT, but a couple other guilds as well, started posting somebody made a globe for I don't know how to explain it. They made a globe for the guild hall, and in order to make that globe, you needed 1 writ of exploration. I think it's called a writ of whatever you get for map completion. You get 2 of them. You needed 1 of those, which you need for the old legendary crafting, by the way.
Yeah.
To make this globe. Are you kidding me? I gotta complete. I gotta do world completion, and it's a tiny little globe. It's
what?
It's not massive. It's not gigantic or anything. It's a tiny little globe.
That's insane.
This was a couple weeks ago, but it cost him 1,200 gold to make. 1,200 gold for a tiny little globe.
They could have at least made it something cool, the one in the Order of Whispers cap,
right? Yeah,
thing,
this big glowing, massive Tyria.
That'd be
floating.
Cool as hell.
Heck yeah.
But no, it's
I know ATT went through the whole process of making I forget what it's called, Uzlov's musical machine, the thing in Divinity's Reach.
Yeah.
And that's cool, but that was thousands of gold to make. These things are not cheap to make. Hundreds to thousands of gold to make some of these decorations. And most of them are not that impressive for that kind of money, for those kind of resources. It is insane. So even after you've spent thousands of gold leveling up this poorly designed, in my opinion, what are they called? scribing. Anyway, after spending all this money, all this time, all this, even if your guild helped you and helped you collect all these resources, after everybody put all this work to get you to the max level, you then have to make even the slightly coolest of things. It's more and more and more, and it's just like people just want to go in and decorate and have a good time in the guild hall.
Talk about waiting around to have fun. Holy
bookshelves,
crap.
bookshelves, like basic bookshelves cost you tons of money to make a cool looking bookshelf. It's like, why? I don't know. It's just not well designed. Let me have fun in my house, in my guild hall, with my guild mates. Let me decorate my room. But in order to do so, I have to spend thousands of gold.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Or you level someone to 400 and then they leave the guild. It's like what? And that's a personal thing they take with them,
Yeah.
Or then they quit the game. It's like, well, what are you going to do?
Your guild thing.
It should be a guild-wide thing. Absolutely.
You can level it up, and then you can, I don't know, maybe in the kind of permission section, you can choose who's a scribe out of the guild, and it's kind of like a rank in the guild. And then, they can craft stuff, and everyone can contribute, but it's not a risk. Like you said, someone could leave. With all of that stuff that you will help for.
The same way as you give permissions for people to place decorations, you can give people the scribing station should be connected to the guild hall. So you should say the guild's scribing level is 200. So we have these decorations to choose from, and guild members. There's a treasury section for upgrades, and then there can be a treasury section for materials to make decorations. And so then, as soon as you go into the guild hall, you check the treasury. You can have a tab for upgrades, and you have a tab for decorations. And so people can say, "Oh, I have an extra stack of mithril. I'm going to throw my extra stack of mithril into the treasury." Under the guild decorations, because I want that to go towards decorations. And then you can have set permissions and give someone permissions to use that scribing station in order to make decorations for the guild hall. And then the designers, the decorators, can then go and place those things that people make.
That'd be cool. It'd be way more communal as well if you could see the kind of the scribing level in the guild menu. More people would be like, hey, I'll donate some stuff, because I can see how far along we are and we're close to doing this thing or whatever. Right. Like, if you're just trusting this person who you send materials to level up their scribing, and then you don't actually see anything until it's done,
Exactly.
Well, and what happens when they quit playing or they can't play anymore because of real life?
We gotta level someone else up. Yeah, and you're depending on one person to make your decorations. That just shouldn't be the case. The whole guild should do it together as a team and not have to rely on one person. You don't have to rely on one person to do the upgrades. The upgrade system is wonderful. Everybody contributes. Yeah. Those who have permission go and choose the upgrades. You can choose, either the guild leader chooses what you upgrade, or you can vote as a guild. You actually have to communicate with each other and vote on what should we upgrade next, the tavern or the mine. What do we want to do? And it's been great in my Peachy Party guild, because we have a couple people who are really keeping track of the Ethereum. Is that what the mine is? They're keeping track of the Ethereum. They're keeping stuff upgraded. When we hit cap, they say, okay, we need this material, today, guys, so that we can upgrade this, so that our, we can start mining Ethereum again. And then the whole guild contributes, and we, everyone gets to contribute. There's some people that are helping to organize it because that is fun for them, so they get to do that part of it, and they get to do the actual upgrades, but everybody is contributing. And then we have a little party when, yay, our guild hall leveled up, and we get to go use, and then everybody gets to go use those upgrades. So I think that system is fantastic. But does our guild hall have a lot of decorations? Nope.
Barren.
Nope.
In some respects, yeah. It's a bit sad, and it's a bit disappointing. I think the idea of Scribe is a great one. I think it is a great idea, but I think the implementation and the overall design on how you level it and how it actually works, not so great.
Yeah. So, and that's something that we could see change in the future. I mean, ANET has changed entire systems before, so...
Yeah.
I think at some point, I do think that it will see an overhaul. I just hope that it's sooner rather than later. And I understand, Heart of Thorns in general has a lot of gold sinks. It's gold sinks everywhere you look.
Yeah.
And I think that scribe is the wrong place. If you want to put a guild sink in, I understand there are guild sinks in the game. I think gold sinks. Excuse me. What did I say? Guild sinks.
Guild sinks.
Guild sinks. I need a guild sink. I need a sink for my house. No, that'll cost you 5,000 gold. Anyway, gold sinks. I think putting a gold sink in scribing, in decorating your guild hall, it kills the fun. You're killing the fun of that. Don't put the gold sink there. Put it other places. I know you're going to put it in there. You need to put it in there for certain things, but
it needs to be sensible. Like, it's someone said it was like 70 gold for a chair. Like, come on, dude.
And you can't sit in it. There's no sitting in that chair.
No sitting.
I'm gonna look at it. I built this chair. I'm gonna look at it.
Don't sit in it. You're not allowed to sit in it. It cost me 70 gold.
Aurora has a DX Racer. Now, you're not allowed to sit in that. It's just for show. I know you spent a lot of money on that chair, but
you're not allowed
look
to sit
at
in
it. It's just for show. It's not actually for sitting on. It's like, you ever go to, like, my grandmother never did this, but I've been to friends' house who, like, go to their grandmother's house, and they have a whole living room that is, like, plastic on
they wrap the sofa and stuff.
It's just for show. You're not allowed to sit on it. You're never allowed to be in that room. You can't have tea there, and you can't eat there. There's no TV. It's just a showroom of this is all my pretty furniture. Don't sit on it, though. You're just allowed to look at it. And that's what it feels like.
That's exactly what it is.
I had a friend whose grandmother had, like, this room with a big bay window. It was a beautiful room. Like china and stuff. You're not even allowed to step in the room. The carpet was, like, pristine. Like, no dust, so you know that she cleans it every day, but, like, nobody goes in that room. Too funny.
Yeah, unless you're an Asura, because Asuras they're so small. They can kind of fit on something, but...
Yeah, they're the only ones that can
Doesn't
really
always
cope.
work. Doesn't always work. I love at the tavern when you go and try and sit on the stools. If you do it wrong, like, you'll end up, like, on your side because you're, like, on the side of the stool. It's like, oh my god. We're trying. Char, we'll just sit on the bar. There's all these tables, these little tiny tables. They look so small.
I have a problem saving gold anyway. And to think, like, 70 gold for a chair, like, the amount of cool skins you could get, you know, for 70 gold, you could get something super flashy. You can get one of the Black Lion weapon skins for that much gold, you know, and when they're first out. So, I mean, it's just, I guess the collaboration thing makes sense, but then, like we've been saying, it just doesn't work as a collaboration when it's, like, a personal, like, crafting profession. It just doesn't work. It needs to be spread across the whole guild. It really does. Yeah. Someone said something about it being like a vendor. Like, as you level the guild up together, you unlock this guy, and then he can sell you guild decorations. And then the price for them can be kind of expensive, but then that's more of a collaboration thing anyway. So, I don't know. That would work even better than this.
There is like a guild hall decorator. He sells some basic things.
Yeah.
I just feel, and I do understand, and I do believe that there could be a couple of items that are massive, grand fountains or like that musical instrument. You know, I understand, like, that stuff. There could be some gold sinks for a couple of those decorations, but for the very basic stuff or for the mediocre stuff, that shouldn't be a huge gold sink. I should be able to make it look basic or mediocre without spending every ounce of gold ever made in the game. You know.
Yep.
So there should be and could be some gold sinks, but not at every turn of scribing, which is what it is now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed.
We're going to move on to a discussion about casual play in Heart of Thorns and how it's affected the casual player. I got a wonderful letter from Michael, aka Wasteland Warrior, and his guildmates. Some of the concerns that they've been having with the game, and they thought it would be very good to share. I think this is a great discussion topic, so I'm just going to read you guys the letter and their concerns, and then we'll give you guys our opinions on it. So, Michael says, with Heart of Thorns coming out, we feel many of the casual players have either left or are taking time away as they feel the pendulum has swung too far in the way of harder content. Many of our guild members feel that ArenaNet, in wanting to make more difficult content, has simply left out anything new for the casuals to do. They feel the maps are too hard for them to navigate well, with its layered content being so vastly different than previous maps. They get lost more times than not. The ones that manage to learn with us are upset because some of the content, such as ranger pets and certain areas of the map, are not available when events lose. They also consider the personal story 2 to 3 times harder than the Living World Season 2 and have difficulty soloing it. They feel like they're always waiting for one of us to get online to help them. They also found gold an incentive to run dungeons, which they enjoyed. With that reward lessened, they feel they have nothing to do now. They never wanted raids, and fractals are still suffering from rewards, and the gold taken from the dungeons is still not in fractals. As I do fractals and some dungeons I still enjoy, I notice it seems to take longer to fill up groups and get anything done. What do you think can, or more importantly should, be done? That's from Michael. Thank you for that letter. That brings up some really, really legit concerns in the game. And some of them we haven't necessarily talked about. Specifically, casual players having trouble with the Heart of Thorns contents. Now, I've always considered myself kind of casual. Until I did raids, I never, I didn't really give that much thought to my build. I build myself up to have a lot of toughness and vitality because I was dying a lot in the harder areas of the game. But there's not a lot of players that even do that. They're just not interested in that part of the game. They're much more casual players. Now, yes, the Heart of Thorns maps are absolutely harder than any other PvE content in the game. That's what they were designed to be. It's designed to be end-game content. Now, only making end-game content for the expansion and not really making, not putting any new maps into core Tyria, honestly, I understand where they're coming from, but to be honest, to me, it's the expansion. It's meant for those harder, it's endgame. It's meant to be endgame content. I don't know. What do you guys think about this first part of this?
I can understand where they're coming from for sure. I can't really relate to it personally. But I can understand that it's definitely a huge step up from what has been in the game in the past. But all I can really think of, this is kind of what the vast majority of the community was asking for a long time before the expansion came out. But I do agree with the fact that there's not so much of a balance. They kind of were like, this is what everyone wants, so we're just gonna ram, hard zones with, really intricate maps and raids. That's what people want. And I do feel like, for the people that just like going around exploring and experiencing and immersing themselves in the world and just having fun, and, maybe they don't have the time to have super amazing gear or, starting to work on their Ascended stuff or anything like that. It's daunting, and with what they've done to the dungeons and taking away the gold rewards there, and with fractals kind of being in the place that they are right now, they must really feel like there's nothing for them in the game, other than the stuff they've been doing for 3 years. And so, for me, I've liked the new challenge and stuff that's been there, but I personally still miss the kind of being able to go into a new zone. When I went to Tangle Depths, I was like, dude, this place looks cool. And I've not really felt like I've properly explored that area. I'm just kind of running past everything, hoping I don't get one-shot by stuff, or, I'm not going to fall into a hole and need a poison mastery kind of thing to survive there. Or it's definitely kind of, it's got that really kind of hardcore, difficult and really well-designed maps. That's fine, but it doesn't have that kind of sense of exploration that a lot of the older zones had, and I think a lot of that is to do with the difficulty of those zones and just the kind of frequency of you being hit and put into combat and everything like that. So I think that's what the majority of the community wanted, and me as well, so that's fine. But with the changes to dungeons and fractals and things like that, they just aren't really doing what they're supposed to. I think there's a lot of people in this position where they log into the game and just feel like there's nothing for them there. And it's a hard balance for ArenaNet. It really is. They couldn't have made these new zones easy. They couldn't have made, the raids obviously were designed to be what they are, and that's fine. But I don't know, I think people, if they only had the kind of facility to do 4 new zones, making even just one of them a bit easier and a bit more open to that kind of casual, old school Tyria kind of exploration thing, there would have been so much outrage and people would have been so disappointed. So I don't know. It's hard to balance this. Guild Wars 2's audience has always been kind of leaning towards the more casual, and I always thought they were really clever for bringing in the casual players, giving them a game that they enjoy so much that they slowly evolve into the more hardcore players because they're getting used to the game, they learn the game, they like it, and then now they can deliver us this hardcore content, and the community is kind of evolving, the audience is evolving with the game like that. But obviously there's still a lot of people that are being kind of let down by this new direction, I guess, that they're going in, and I don't know. I don't know how they would fix it, or it's one of those balances that you can't really hit. You kind of have to. I think there's definitely stuff for the casual player there, but maybe
there's
not in the right way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's less of it. I think that the first map should have been Arc Basin and not Verdant Brink. Now, contextually, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You wouldn't enter the jungle and be like, oh, here's the Exalted, and go do this. So, I don't mean by that. I mean by the map design itself. So, Arc Basin, for the most part, is very flat. There's a little bit of exploration. There's a little bit of layering, a little bit of tiering, but there's no real canopy. There's not a ton of stuff underground. There's a little bit under the city and stuff, but there's not a ton there. Verdant Brink is the poster child of Heart of Thorns. It has a canopy, it has your base level, it has a tiny bit of underground. And then Tangled Depths is all underground and no sky. And then Dragon's Stand is another like Arc Basin map where it's just there, basically. There's a little bit of verticality, there's a little bit of 3D space, but it's like that. So it should have been like Arc Basin, Dragon's Stand, Verdant Brink, Tangled Depths as far as map design. I'm not talking about the meta events or the creatures or any of the stuff like that. I'm talking about the navigation of the maps. I understand why ArenaNet did it the way they did. They want to show gliding off right away. They want you to see a canopy. They want you to see a little bit of an underground kind of area and that sort of exploration. But for a very casual player, and I don't just mean casual as far as how much time you have to devote to a game, because there is that aspect of being casual. Even in Maven, we have raid groups A and B. It doesn't mean that A is better than B. It means that A has more time to raid and B has less time. That's all that those groups mean. You could have called them green and red or blue and purple or whatever. But I'm talking casual in the sense of players who don't care about their builds, they don't care about their gear, they just want to run around the open world and do hearts, do events, do meta events as they pop up, and such and so forth. And I think that Heart of Thorns in general is a shock to those player systems. Because even in Silver Wastes, yeah, Silver Wastes was perhaps a little bit more involved than some of the classic maps, but it still wasn't overwhelming. And I think with some of the maps in Heart of Thorns, coupled with some of the meta events, it can be pretty overwhelming, especially, I think Tangled Depths is kind of like the worst offender here when it comes to that sort of thing, trying to figure out the different lanes and what you're supposed to do, and just navigating the map in general is kind of hellish, to be quite honest. Some people will disagree with that, but coming from, casual players' perspective, there's that. Then you have things like nerfing the dungeon rewards, and you can argue that, whatever you want about dungeons, but dungeons were very easy to do. Even casual players with not a ton of skill could still do dungeons. Maybe they weren't stacking and burning and killing the dungeon in a minute or something like that, but they could still spend like 20 minutes to 30 minutes in a dungeon and clear it without really having much skill or much information on their class. Maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe it, maybe there's a mix there. But dungeons were really never that difficult. And then you had fractals, which were the next step up. Now, beginning level fractals now are way, 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 way easier than they used to be. So when this guy says that his guild used to enjoy dungeons and they used to enjoy fractals, I don't necessarily envision that they were doing fractal level 50 every single day. Maybe they were. I don't know. But they could have been doing any number of fractal activities and dungeons without being like super over-the-top skilled players, without running super meta builds or anything like that. And they could have still considered themselves fairly casual player. Is the Heart of Thorns story a lot more difficult than Living World? I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, with the exception of perhaps the last boss, which, by the way, can be still buggy as hell. He's still full of bugs. I did him the other night with Matsta and some random people, and it bugged on us like 4 times where we had to restart it. So frustrating. Other than that, I don't know that the story was overly difficult. Some of the navigation parts of the stories were a little bit frustrating. Following Rox's path, where you have an arrow that points this direction, but the rock is really over here somewhere that you need to find. I don't know. Yeah. Some of that's a bit frustrating. Is that difficult? That's not really difficult. It's just frustrating and kind of whatever. So I don't know that the story was... I don't know that the story was overly difficult, but there were certain aspects that were a bit frustrating of the story. The final boss, I guess you could argue, was more difficult than what players might be used to. I mean, let's face it. If you did the original story and you killed Zaitan, you pressed 1 or 2 the entire time. And going into this, you might think, well, now I have to learn how to updraft. And gliding, I can definitely say, gliding isn't a problem for me, but I have definitely seen gliding be a problem for other people and trying to figure out, how to deal with that sort of thing. There are workarounds to a lot of that stuff, but for the casual player, and it depends how you define casual, right. I think HoT is mostly a miss for those players. They don't necessarily care about higher level fractals, which is rebranded and repackaged material anyway. Dungeons are no longer very rewarding, so there's less people doing dungeons for sure. Raids obviously don't appeal to them at all, which is understandable. That's fine. Structured PvP and leagues and all that stuff probably doesn't overly appeal to those people. World vs. World is a complete mess anyway and probably doesn't appeal to those people that much. Story was short and kind of lacking, so not too much there. And some of the maps, not all of them, but some of them, like Tangled Depths and possibly even Verdant Brink, you can get lost very easy. And because of the mobs that exist in those games now, or in those zones now, they're not overly forgiving. So if you're trying to explore and do this or that, the other, if rolling devils start, if you get rooted and a rolling devil just rolls on your face, you're just dead. Yeah. And then you respawn and you run back and you die again. And there are some tricks. My wife is one of these very casual players. She really doesn't play Heart of Thorns very much at all. A lot of that is because she gets lost a lot. It's not enjoyable for her playing solo. Now, if I'm playing with her and running around, sure, she has a good time. But if she's out there by herself, she'll play for 20 minutes and she's like, you know what? I'm kind of done for the day. I've had enough punishment. I think I'm just going to go back and do whatever. And you could put the argument that, well, then she should just go explore Classic Tyria. But she's done that for 3 years. Why does she want to do that anymore? Right. She already explored all of Tyria for 3 years, And you might say, well, she just needs to get better. Well, she doesn't have a lot of time. She's a very busy person. And when she does have time, she just wants to jump in the game and run around and explore and do some meta events and whatever. She doesn't care about raids. She's not salty about raids or dungeons or fractals. She's not salty about any of that stuff. But general map exploration, not overly enjoyable for her, Mm-hmm. And some of that is because she gets lost very easily, and she just Tangled Depths is an absolute nightmare. She basically goes into Verdant Brink and runs around and does events in Verdant Brink because it's, in Arc Basin. Mm-hmm. She runs around Arc Basin because that's less punishing and not nearly as bad as some of the other maps, But all of that being said, do I think that they should nerf things into the ground? No, that's not the solution. The solution is a more gradual, pace getting into the maps, laying the maps out differently so that when you first enter, it's a little bit more like classic Tyria. And as you go further and further along, you make those maps into what they are now. And I think reordering the maps, although that doesn't exactly work, would have been a slightly better solution to some of the issues that players are facing. Mm-hmm. I definitely understand, though, these players who were playing a particular way, they were excited for new content. The new content comes, and it just doesn't really give them what they're looking for. And as far as ranger pets go, that's a whole other topic all on its own. But you have one ranger pet high in the canopy, not too bad. He's gettable. You have a bristleback who's sitting out in the open, easily obtainable. But the last two, the blue wyvern and the tiger, like the tiger, you only get after you successfully complete Dragon Stand. Yeah. So, and I think those pets are okay if they were special skins. You know what I mean? I think the basic pets should just be out there in the open world, and that's fine. The blue wyvern is okay where he's at. He's not difficult to get. It's just kind of like you need to know how to get over there. But there's a whole discussion that could be had about adding special pet skins in the game that only appear after you do a certain event, or only appear when you get to a particular area or have a particular mastery or something. There's also another total different discussion we could talk about for hours on how the mastery system didn't really deliver what was promised, but yeah, it's another topic for another day, I guess.
I mean, I think Heart of Thorns was always supposed to be this evolution, right? They improved the AI of the mobs there.
Yeah.
Everyone was wanting difficult content that wasn't just stacking on top of each other, and they wanted raids, they wanted deep, like, intense, detailed maps with, you know, a lot of stuff going on, and everyone who's playing Heart of Thorns, you know, was supposed to be level 80. They'd played through season 2. They'd done all the story stuff. It needed to evolve from there. It couldn't have stayed the same, and so I think it did what it was supposed to do, and I think the majority of people are kind of happy with the difficulty, and where that's at right now. It's just some of the players, obviously, that have that kind of different play style aren't particularly happy with it, and I can understand. But I think if I had to choose between, you know, adding more casual stuff or adding what we got, I still would have gone with what Heart of Thorns is now. I think that was the right thing to do for the majority of the audience and the player base. And I just hope that, you know, maybe the dungeons will get sorted out. Hopefully fractal rewards will make it a lot more worth it. And we'll just see what happens next, I guess, in season 3. Season 3.
I think they've been preparing us for this. We got Dry Top, which was harder than, you know, well, we got South Sun Cove, which was harder than, you know, the other maps. And then we got Dry Top, and then we got the Silver Wastes, you know, each one introducing new mechanics, each one, you know, straight level 80 zones, no doubt about it. You need to be level 80 if you're going to step into those new zones. And so I think that they've been preparing us, and they never once said that they were going to give us any casual, you know, low-level content in Heart of Thorns. They said, you know, new maps, we're going into the jungle, this is endgame content, you need to be level 80. You know, they said that they upped the AI, and they did. You know, they said at nighttime you're going to be overrun by Mordrum, and you are. You know, doing this Living World Season 2 prepared us for what the Mordrum are. You know, little tentacles can just, giant worms that spew Mordrum can just pop up out of nowhere. And I think they prepared us for that. And, you know, yes,
100%. I mean, like, everyone was raging about Terragriffs when Silver Wastes came into the game and all this stuff. Like, you know, the husks take ages to kill because they have that tough bark and all this stuff. Like, we were definitely slowly introduced to all of this stuff, and it shouldn't have been anything but harder.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with the difficulty. Like I was saying, you know, I consider myself fairly casual. I didn't have my, you know, extreme Zerker all ascended build, you know, before, you know, when Heart of Thorns first came out, when I did the story. I just had whatever, you know, exotic gear I threw on my my Guardian. It was my secondary, so I don't even remember what, I had all exotics. I don't even remember what my build was. I didn't concentrate too hard on my build. And yeah, Heart of Thorns, the maps, the story, it was harder than any of the other content, absolutely. But I still didn't have, and I did most of it solo. The vast majority of it I did solo. I didn't really have a problem with it. So, these people saying that they just can't get through the story, all I can suggest to you is, actually sit down and take a look at your build. Find out why you are dying. Maybe you have all Zerker gear. Maybe you shouldn't. If you're not an expert at dodge rolling and positioning, maybe you shouldn't have all Zerker gear. That's what I did whenever the Tower of Nightmares came out, and I just got wrecked going in there with my Guardian. I had all Zerker gear, this was years ago. I got absolutely obliterated. I could not do that content. I could not get through it. Even when I was running around with the Zergs, I would just die and die and die, and it was frustrating. But I took a step back. I looked at my gear. I bought all new gear. I focused on vitality. I made myself a tank. I focused on vitality and toughness, boon duration, healing. I focused on those kinds of things. I had a much better time. I was able to get through the content. Yes, it took me longer to kill stuff, but that's the trade-off. That's the trade-off. Mm-hmm. There's nothing you can do about that. So step back, take a look at your gear, take a look at your build, and you might find that doing that, you might find you enjoy that part of the game. If you consider yourself a casual, I considered myself a casual, I was a casual going into raids, but being forced to do that harder content, just as, taking a step up from Heart of Thorn, the Heart of Thorns maps to raiding is a huge step up. Maybe you're used to just being an explorer in Corteria, and, going into the Heart of Thorns maps is that significant step up in difficulty for you. Take that opportunity to look at your gear, look at your build, and you might find that you really enjoy doing that part of the game. Or even if you don't, just, take a day, take an hour, look at your build, buy new gear, and then you might have an easier time. So that would be my suggestion. Do I think they should change it and make it more casual friendly? No. I agree with Corvus. I agree with you guys that I think that we needed this harder content, that it's right for the game. If casual players, want something new, I'm sorry, they're just gonna have to step it up. Like, there's still festivals, there's still, I guarantee you there are corners of Tyria you haven't seen. Get all of your explorers achievements. Do your collections. Go back to parts of Tyria you've forgotten about. There is still stuff in the game for you. You can still do dungeons even if the rewards are not, as liquid as they used to be. The loot is still there in dungeons. Do them because you enjoy them, not because you love the cash flow. You can, if you have Heart of Thorns and you're casual, there are 2 amazing guild halls for you to explore, and you would not believe the nooks and crannies and layers there are to those guild halls. I mean, every day I discover something new in the Gilded Hollow, and I've barely explored the Lost Precipice, and there's not one thing trying to kill you in there unless you go into the arena. So that would be my suggestion to casual players who have Heart of Thorns, who were disappointed in it. There's still content for you, and if you try a little harder, there is even more content for you. So. Peachy's all thug life right now. You guys. We're going to end the show there. We'll continue in the post-show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me grab my outro music here. There we go. All right. If you're watching live on Twitch, please stay tuned. We're going to continue the discussion in the post-show. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Check out the description for links to all of our channels and more Guild Wars 2 content. And we hope to see you live next week at 1 p.m. Eastern Time here on Twitch. We'll see you then, guys. Bye. Thanks for watching.
Bye.